Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and the Business 265 students. The Business 265 capstone students are on their pathway to graduation, career advancement, or whatever is next. So we're grateful for your time and the opportunity to speak with you. So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do for Henderson County and kind of your career path to where you are.
Certainly. My name is John Mitchell. I'm the Henderson County Manager. What that means for your students is that I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Henderson County. We have approximately $210 million budget and around 1,000 employees that I manage here in the county. I've been a bureaucrat my entire career. There's a difference between politics with a capital P and politics with a lowercase p. What we do every day and what my career has been about is about government, about setting the table so that individuals can thrive and do business and go about their daily lives in both local, state, and national politics. The county is involved in a lot of different activities, and so I've jokingly said before that what you really need in order to be at this level of government is a knowledge about just all the many things that the government is involved with. You drive down a road in this community and you think, well, the county is responsible for this. Knowing which entity is responsible for what, knowing that there are two different power companies within the county and who to call if power line is out at one point or at another, or if there's a pothole on Main Street, who's responsible for that. That's the heart of the role, is to both the management of our work and the knowledge base that comes along with years of working in local, state, federal government. I began my career at the North Carolina Senate, which would have been over 20 years ago now. I was working for Senator Hamilton Horton and Senator Stan Bingham there. After that, I did 2 years at the Asheville Chamber of Commerce as their governmental relations manager. And then I went to work for the United States Senate for United States Senator Richard Burr. I had all the western part of the state for him. I was very young during that time.
All right. Beginning with the end in mind, did you always know you wanted to get to this position? Is this something that evolved over time? And then what planning did you do to get here?
I always had a love of the Republic. My family has been involved with the United States government or the state government or local government for 300 years. Mm-hmm. It was a story that we told around the dinner table. My grandmother was the first female city councilwoman in Thomasville, North Carolina. My great-grandfather was a commissioner in Davidson County. My father was a town attorney for Denton and Thomasville for around 35 years, I believe. Might even been 38. When I was young, very young, coming through school, I didn't really have an idea about where I could end up. If I'm honest with you, what I really wanted to do, I thought at the time, was be a park ranger. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I thought it was statistically impossible, which is odd because there are only 100 county managers in the state. There are considerably more park rangers. But I think the heart of your question is there had to be some intention, and that's true. Um, I think I need to tell the students that the way that I initially got into working for the legislature was a cold call. Something that's very important to know is that nobody gets to where they are without asking, number one. Number two, seeking that thing. And three, there's always going to be someone who's going to be kind of a gatekeeper, and those people are generally, they're there to open the door. Mm-hmm. When I wanted to go work for the General Assembly, I can remember vividly sitting in a parking lot at UNC Asheville with one of the first cell phones, and I made the call to Senator Bingham's office 4 or 5 times before I actually had the courage to let it go through. So, I'm 16, I guess would have been 18, 19-year-old kid sitting in a parking lot trying to call a member of the General Assembly, and it just, I'd let it ring, and then I'd get too scared to let it keep ringing and hang up the phone. I'd kind of wait a minute and get it together and call back, and he just picked up the phone. I didn't expect that either. That's another thing which is really important to know. I thought that I'd be talking to an assistant, but it wasn't. He picked up the phone, and when he did, I was so shocked that I just gurgled out. I asked him if I could have an internship, and he was taken by surprise too. But taking that risk, mm-hmm. Being prepared. Life's scary, and it can be high stress. But it's not an adventure if it's never in doubt. And by that call, he asked me to send my resume. I did, and about 3 months later, I got a call and asked me where I was, because there was no paperwork in those days. It just happened. So I just showed up down in Raleigh and went to work for him in Ham.
And that evolved. Tell us about that evolution.
It did. My grandmother used to say, it's not what you know, but who you know.
Correct.
And while I was down there, I got to be around a lot of really sharp people. You can ask anybody in this organization. I'm not the smartest person working here. While I was there, I started to kind of, as I said before, understanding where and who to talk to, and how the government works generally was how that knowledge base started to build. It was those connections and that ability to understand how legislation moves through the legislature that gave me the opportunity to go work at the Asheville Chamber of Commerce. And I have to say, again, that was another opportunity, another moment in my career where there was a job. I found out there was a job opportunity. I sent in my resume, but I didn't wait. I put on a suit, and I walked in the front door. And I walked right into the office where the hiring manager was. And I brought 2 copies of my resume. And believe it or not, she took me into her office and we sat down, and I got the job right there. I didn't wait. And it's probably, I was terrified. But, I think it's a theme. It should be a theme to anyone watching this video, that if you don't ask, if you don't go that extra step, you don't have those opportunities. So I worked for them for 2 years, and during that period of time, I got introduced to the Senate offices and the congressional offices, City Council in Asheville. The Buncombe County Commissioners went to a lot of commission meetings, a lot of Asheville City Council meetings, back and forth to Raleigh and Washington. Business leaders. And when the job came open at United States Senator Richard Burr's office, I you know. It's the third time in my career where, I picked up the phone and made the call, and by then I'd actually was able to use some of my connections in Raleigh to kind of open that door too. But this is something for the students to know. There's nothing like that you can accomplish without actually having to go and be present and do that extra little bit of research and dress appropriately. I would have been, like 23 or 24 years old at that time. So they took a big risk in hiring me to come out here into the West.
And you did it very well. I can remember you representing Burt very well through the time at the chamber. But okay, and then talk about the evolution to this position. What made you decide to take that next step?
That job was a great job. I remember going into the state director's office. I had 20 counties in West North Carolina, so this whole western part of the state. And I remember going into the state director's office it would have been the second interview. And again, I think you should know that, and everybody watching this should know, I was terrified. I think, is that a theme of this?
To take risks, and it will be scary, and do it anyway.
So we're sitting there, and he's talking to me about the work and what to do and how to do it. And he leaned back, and he was not a man of very many words. Dean Myers, a mentor to me and a truly great North Carolinian. He sat there and he looked at me and he said, "John, I was a field representative myself." And I said, "Okay." He goes, "Best job I ever had." And I remember thinking, this guy's crazy. He's here you have a state director for a sitting United States senator, probably one of the most powerful politicians in the history of the state of North Carolina, a statesman. And he's talking to a 20-something-year-old kid telling him that he's getting ready to go out and have the best job he's ever had. But he was right. Meaning no disrespect to the county, because this is a good job too. Mm-hmm. But every single day, it was my job to go out into the West and meet people and try and work with them on both, federal legislative issues, and that's anything from casework where people may have been rejected for veterans benefits, or legislation through the congressman's office to protect the species in the national park from woolly adelgid. I had the opportunity there to meet every county manager in West North Carolina, and I've been in every plant of any size, all the community colleges, all the universities, all the national parks, national forests. It was my job to know everything that was going on in West North Carolina. That I got to be present at the inauguration of two chiefs, the Cherokee, which is an honor so extreme that it just, to be there in that place and be invited in that way was truly profound. But while I was doing it, I started to grasp that the federal government and the state government are very figurative. They write legislation, but they don't enact the legislation, generally speaking. There are some instances where that's not the case. You could say the Blue Ridge Parkway, for instance, when money is allocated, the superintendent and the staff there, they enact it. But generally speaking, legislation written in Raleigh and Washington is enacted by local governments. I met and knew all the chief executives of the 20 counties in the West. I admired them deeply, and it was during that period of time where I started to think that that my career arc was probably, if I wanted to do something with the most good for the people that I cared about the most, which are the people in the West. That this was kind of something to shoot for. Steve Wyatt was the county manager at that time. Steve, I think just about everybody in the profession would agree, one of the best, if not the best, county manager in the state at that time. And I would come by and see Steve and talk to him about my future. And, he was a mentor to me. I would really encourage, this is maybe theme number 2. Theme number 1 is do that thing which you're afraid of, because you only got one chance, and you might as well make the most of it. And the worst they could say is no. So ask. That's theme number 1. Theme number 2, there are going to be people in your life who are interested in your success. I've benefited from a number of those people. And they're easier to come by than you might think, because I know this is true because I'm in that period of my life too. Some of the things that I enjoy the most is watching other people succeed. And Steve took me under his wing and gave me good advice. Except for the last one, where he invited me to come work here as a business and community development director. I couldn't turn it down. I was at a place in my life where Meredith and I were interested in starting a family, and you can, but it's hard to travel every single day, which is what I was doing for the United States Senate. I wanted a place where we could raise a family, and I also, by that time, had started to think about being in executive management in local government. So I worked for Steve for about 8 years, I believe, as a number 2. The way that the government works here and throughout North Carolina is there's a chief executive officer, and then there are assistants below, people who have different books of business. Sure. The assistant county manager here, who is also a good friend and mentor to me, Amy Brantley, she was the assistant county manager, and she had a book of business that was half of the county departments, and I had the other half. Mine were mostly regulatory and public-facing, and hers were internal services departments. So I did that for a number of years, and one day, after been working for Steve for about 8 years, I was sitting right over there, and he told me that he was retiring, and I stood up and walked down the hall to the assistant county manager's office, Amy Brantley. It was a job that I wanted, that I'd been studying for. I got my master's at Western Carolina at night in order to have the qualifications to be ready. I walked down to Amy's office, and I sat down with her, and she knew that Steve was retiring too. And I said, Amy, I've got the greatest respect for you, and if you want to be, if you want to put your hat in the ring, I'll support you. But if you don't, I'd like to ask you if you'd support me. And she said she would. Of course, Board of Commissioners make that decision. Mm-hmm. But her support for me, especially then and during the first 2 years in this job, were really important.
So many strong topics brought to the table during this discussion, from mentorship to evolution of your leadership skills and your role now as a mentor to others and watching others succeed, the importance of taking a risk and doing things even when you're scared to do so, but also mentioning building that knowledge base and skill set while on the job and learning. So working from the beginning with the end in mind, even if it's still unfolding as you're working through it. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about your personal brand. We touch on that throughout this course, developing a personal brand as a student, as a professional, but also representing the organizations in which you serve. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of a personal brand and why it's so important for students as they enter the workforce or career growth opportunities.
I do think that's critically important. One of the things, we talked about this earlier, but the interpersonal relationships that you develop with people are critically important. The way you present yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, we dress as we dress for a number of reasons, but the biggest one is a sign of respect for other people.
Yes.
It's not a sign of respect, or it's not about aggrandizing yourself as much as it is having that knowledge that what you're doing is saying to the other person that I take this interaction with you it means so much to me that I've prepared. I would say too, personal brand, what I've tried to cultivate over the years is, number one, I say this all the time, I get up every morning and I swing my feet over the bed and I say, today is a day I'm not going to tell an untruth to a member of the board or to an elected official or to a citizen. That's tougher than it sounds. Mm-hmm. Because there are different kinds of truth, It's easy to say, well, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to tell them the truth. Fine. But doing the research, understanding, when you say something out loud to a member of the board, it needs to be 100% true. A good example of that is when we talk about numbers. It's easy when you think about numbers. Well, when you say, what are the sales tax receipts for this month? Well, you think about that and you think, oh, well, I'll just, a round number is fine. Well, it is, except that what we're doing and when we're interacting with people is we're giving them information which they're going to use later. Mm-hmm. So broadly, throughout my career, what I've tried to do is be sure that when I'm representing a fact, that it's 100% true. Because other people use that information in their day-to-day. There's nothing that people can sense authenticity. I've said before, and it's probably not a very good thing to say, but I'll say it anyway. The best lie is the truth.
Okay.
I know it sounds strange.
I need you to unpack it.
You get into a situation and you think to yourself, gosh, I need to be something more for this group of people, something more than myself, or I need to demonstrate a competency which is little beyond what I know. Or you get asked a question that you really want to say an answer to. The best thing you can do in that moment is be authentic and tell the truth. If if a county commissioner is sitting here or someone else says, John, could you please unpack for me a particular law about sales tax or sales and use in the state of North Carolina? What you want to do in that moment is start and say a number that's, kind of try and let them know that you know what you're talking about. If you're not 100%, or if you don't know the answer to the question, it's a whole lot better to be authentic in that moment and say, that's a great question. Let me take some time to look into it, and I'll give you an answer after I've had a moment to look. This authenticity is the thing, which is something that I've tried to cultivate. Mm-hmm. in my personal brand. I don't always get it right, but trying to give information to people in a way which they deserve from me. I think so. That's one part of it, and people can tell. By the way, I've been in front of a number of large crowds of people, and if you're not authentic or telling the truth, they can tell. Having that respect for other people to try and understand where they're coming from. Just about everybody that you meet is attempting to do. They're trying to do a good thing for themselves, a good thing for their community. Trying to understanding where they come from and have that empathy is really important, especially in government.
Sure.
I'd like to think that the third kind of part of my personal brand is being open to people. For years, and even now, I go around West North Carolina giving out my cell phone. I've paid for that, but being available, being willing to do the hard work.
Thank you. And I can remember from way back in the day, it actually wasn't that far back, let's just say not too far back in the day, at the Chamber of Commerce, when you were a legislative representative for Philbur, you were very relatable and approachable, and especially in the 20 western counties of Western North Carolina, which are so diverse and different with their own nuances, that I'm sure was tough to kind of approach each community through that authenticity, that relatable, kind of empathetic approach. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, 2 more questions. Why is it important to dream big, seize opportunities, and sometimes fail?
Well, I can be kind of stoic about this, and I would recommend to all of your students that after they've been forced to watch this, they go home and look up Admiral Stockdale, who he was a great Stoic philosopher. He had read Epictetus and Seneca and many of the great Roman Stoic philosophers, and he actually got shot down during the Vietnam War and spent some years as the highest-ranking officer in the Hanoi prison. And the central heart of Stoic philosophy is to remember that this is fleeting. And their saying is memento mori, which means remember that you die. You get one opportunity and one time to go through this life. There's no shame in failing when trying. In fact, I've failed quite a bit, and I'm going to continue to do so. That's the way it goes. Believe it or not, the great things in life are worth trying for. And in my career, the things which have been the most gratifying have been things which have been in which the outcome was seriously in doubt, but it's worth trying.
Okay.
How was that?
That's great. All right, last one, the big moment. All right, one tip to assist our students as they approach graduation, career advancement, and career planning. What is one tip as they begin this process?
I think what I would say, and it's kind of been a theme of this interview, is that you should think about where you think you'd like to go. Research, think about it. Go ahead and think about the long-term plan, how you're going to get there. For me, myself, I had to go get a master's degree. I knew that was something I had to do in the ARC. The number one tip would be to do the homework and put yourself out there. Do the thing you're afraid to do.
Love it. All right, thank you so much for your time.